let's talk about a big problem in learning and development. There's this huge gap, right, between all the training we do and the results we can actually prove. Well, in this explainer, we're going to tackle that head on. We're moving from those confusing mystery metrics to demonstrating real, measurable business impact. Okay, let me ask you something. Think about your last big training program. Could you really, hand on heart, walk into the boardroom and prove its ROI? Or was it more like crossing your fingers, just hoping those completion rates meant something? Yeah, if you're nodding along right now, you know exactly the problem we're here to solve. So here's the game plan. First, we'll dive into what I call the analytics black hole to see why current metrics just don't cut it. Then we'll look at a massive step change in capability, see how to turn data into real decisions, unlock the power of plain English, and finally, this is the big one, get to proving real solid business impact. All right, let's get right into it. The core of the issue, this analytics black hole. You know what I mean. For way too long, L&D has been kind of drowning in data that looks good on a PowerPoint slide, but when it comes down to it, it just doesn't prove our value to the business. And this slide really lays it out, doesn't it? It's like two totally different universes. You've got the old way, which is all about activity, and, let's be honest, a lot of guesswork. Who finished the course? And then you have the new way, which is all about impact and proof. Did we actually change how people work? And did that move the needle on business outcomes? Okay, so here's the brutal truth. Just because someone completes a course, it doesn't mean they're competent. Not at all. And even the classic models like Kirkpatrick, they're great in theory, but they often miss that crucial data link, that bridge between the training activity and the actual business outcome. So what you end up with is an analysis that's just floating in its own little bubble, totally disconnected from what the business actually cares about. So, how do we get out of this mess? Well, the answer isn't just a small tweak. It's a fundamental step change in how we measure learning. And it's all powered by a completely new kind of system. So, what are we talking about here? A learning measurement system. And no, this isn't just another dashboard with more charts to track clicks. Think of it as a purpose-built engine. Its one and only job is to prove that direct, undeniable link between your learning programs and the company's bottom line. Really, it all boils down to this one simple idea. Moving from guesswork to evidence. We're getting out of the world of I think this worked and into the world of I can prove this worked. And that, my friends, is how L&D doesn't just get invited to the leadership table, it earns its seat. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? How do you go from a pile of data to a smart, clear decision? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the mechanics. The whole process is actually surprisingly straightforward. First, it automates the behavioral assessment for you. Then, it helps you zero in on the business metrics that matter. You just upload your KPIs, and boom, the system does all the heavy lifting, finding all those hidden connections for you. Just think about what this means in practice. That automated assessment, that's not just cool. That saves teams days, maybe even weeks of painstaking work. It gives you this laser focus on the exact behaviors you need to change. But the real magic, it connects all the dots for you. From the learning, to the behavior change, to the actual business KPI. It's the whole chain. All right, this next part, for me, this is the absolute best part. Because look, having tons of data is one thing, but making it so simple that anyone from a team lead to the CEO can understand it in a second, that's a whole other level. You know how it is. Most data reports are just a tangled mess, right? A jungle of spreadsheets and charts and numbers that don't seem to talk to each other. And it's all on you to try and make sense of it, to find the story hidden in all that chaos. Now picture this. Imagine taking all of that complexity and boiling it down to super rich plain English insights, all with the click of a single button. This isn't just making pretty charts. This is data translation. It's taking the language of data and translating it into the language of business. So what's going on under the hood to make this happen? What's the secret sauce? Well, the system is pulling together all these different pieces. It's looking at the behavior change, it's looking at the KPI movement, it's looking at the learner's experience, and it's looking at demographics to see how it all plays out across different groups. It's synthesizing everything. And this all leads us to the final, most important step, taking this amazing analysis and turning it into action. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's where we finally prove L&D's value in a way nobody can argue with. Because let's be clear, the ultimate goal isn't to have better learning metrics. It's to have better business metrics. It's about being able to talk about sales going up or turnover going down. That's the language the business speaks. And with this, L&D can finally speak it fluently. And look, this is what it looks like in reality. It becomes crystal clear. You can say, our Q3 sales training, it drove a 15% increase in consultative selling, which led directly to an 8% bigger average deal size. Or that leadership coaching we invested in, team feedback scores shot up 22%, and we saw a 12% drop in employee turnover. I mean, come on, this is that rock-solid, data-driven proof we've all been chasing. And the strategic power this gives you is just huge. You're not guessing anymore. You can see the real impact across your whole organization. You can compare all your different training providers and see who's actually delivering. Can you just imagine walking into your next contract negotiation with a vendor armed with this kind of data? It's an absolute game changer. So after all that, after talking about all this complex analysis, connecting all these dots, it's pretty amazing to realize it all comes back to this one simple thing, getting the answers that actually matter with just one click. So I'll leave you with this thought. What could you prove? If you had data that spoke the language of your business, what stories could you tell? What doors could you open? What kind of impact could you finally, truly demonstrate? If you're ready to make that leap from guesswork to evidence, you can definitely dive deeper at the source we used for today's explainer. Thanks so much for watching.